Good morning, it's January 21st, and this is To My Liberal Friends. Today is the first full day of the Trump administration, but I have to go back to Joe Biden one more time, and I hope I don't have to talk about him in the future. And what I'm talking about is the constant reference that Joe Biden made about the quote Biden word. Over and over, Joe Biden used this phrase to somehow make us think he was a forthright and honest guy who could be counted on to do what he said and that he was a man of his word. Now that he's out of office, we know that was just talk and meant nothing. We know now that Joe Biden is someone that thinks only of the moment, how it will benefit him, and anything he said or promised in the past should be disregarded. And before we get to what Biden did heading out of office, we should look back at some of the promises that Biden made. Remember, it's the Biden word. In December of 2020, just after Biden had been elected, Joe Biden told Jake Tapper on CNN that with regards to the rumors that Trump would potentially preemptively pardon his children of any criminal activity, it should not happen. He said, quote, in terms of the pardons, you're not going to see in our administration that kind of approach to pardons. It is just going to be totally different, the way in which we approach the justice system, end quote. Those are Joe Biden's words. I want you to think about that statement for a moment. It was a blatant lie, and we all now know that it's exactly how Joe Biden has decided to approach the justice system. He decided to pardon just about everyone with the name Biden for any and all crimes they may have committed going back to 2014. And he had this announced after he had just ridden to the Capitol with President-elect Donald Trump. He sat in that limousine and I'm sure talked with Trump in a pleasant manner and gave no hint of what was being done at the White House in his last minute as president. Everyone seemed to think that Biden is concerned about possible investigation into his family members. Accompanying those pardons, Biden was said the following, quote, even when individuals have done nothing wrong and will be ultimately be exonerated, the mere fact of being investigated or prosecuted can irreparably damage their reputation and finances, end quote. That sure didn't apply to Donald Trump during the Biden administration or anybody associated with Trump. And this is the same Joe Biden that told us over and over that he would respect the judicial system and not pardon or commute any sentence for his son, Hunter Biden. We should remember that Hunter Biden had been convicted of lying on a federal form to acquire a firearm and that he had pled guilty to tax fraud. He owed the government over $1 million in taxes. A friend of the Biden family, Los Angeles entertainment lawyer Kevin Morris, paid the tax bill and in fact had loaned Hunter Biden just over $5 million to cover his expenses and taxes and then purchased some of Hunter Biden's worthless art. And I say it's worthless because how many of you would buy one of Hunter's paintings and how many do you think he's going to sell in the future? I don't think any. What Joe Biden has done is created the element of doubt for each and every person that he pardoned in the last minutes. What does brothers do to deserve a pardon? We know that they've been trading on the Biden name for decades and had Joe Biden using his influence to enrich them. What did one of his daughters know about construction that allowed him to join a construction company and suddenly have the company be awarded a huge contract to build housing in Iraq? A contract that was under the jurisdiction of then Vice President Biden. Why did Hunter Biden need to set up 21 separate LLCs, and why was money transferred into these accounts with no viable business reason for those funds to be put in those accounts? Why were various members of the Biden family being sent money from these LLCs? What did they do to earn these monies? And some of them were even grandchildren of Biden. These are all questions that now hang in the wind. Joe Biden has done his best to ensure that none of these questions can be answered as he puts up a protective shield around his family and the Biden business, which was influence peddling. And if I'm being honest, I've expected these pardons from the beginning, no matter what Biden said, no matter how many times he said, quote, the Biden word. In the end, I think Joe Biden is really afraid that any continued investigation into the Biden family business might eventually lead right back to his doorstep. Now, let's be honest, left-wing media is having a conniption over Trump pardoning the January 6 convictions. There's one difference between what he did and what Biden did. He told people he was going to do it. He campaigned on doing it. He was upfront about it, and the voters knew in advance what he was going to do. It was not done under the cover of darkness. It was not snuck out at the last minute. Now, I may disagree with some of those pardons, and I do, but Donald Trump was front and center telling us what he intended to do. So I'd like to now offer a solution. The ability to issue pardons is enshrined in our political system. It is a power the president has. But this abuse of the pardon process goes far beyond what anyone envisioned any president abusing it. To put some transparency in the process, a word we hear in politics all the time these days, we should put some guardrails on this process. I would suggest that Congress enact a law that states very clearly that presidential pardons have to be issued prior to a presidential election. That would mean from, say, October 1st to January 20th of the next year, no pardons can be issued during a presidential election year. The exception would be for a president who ran for re-election and won. Then the power of the pardon would be allowed since the president would be remained in office. This would force presidents to be totally transparent in this pardon system. They would have to let the public know in advance of any election who they're pardoning. It would put a necessary check on any abuse of this power. I think it's something that needs to be done. We need to know what presidents are going to do. This has been To My Liberal Friends. Thanks for listening. If you enjoy the podcast, it's here on TikTok, but it's also on YouTube. And I would encourage everybody to move over to YouTube because it's easier to watch there. Thank you.